back, everybody. Critical Conversations, episode 9. As always, I
Hello.
am Sam Castles and my co-host, Jared Bessie.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, welcome back. We're hopefully in for a little shorter episode today.
Yes, give you a breather after last week's
Last week was a bit of a marathon, but it was a good
hefty
time.
episode.
I enjoyed it.
Yes, that was fun.
Yeah, so today should be a little bit more relaxed. We were juggling around some topics, but I think at the end of the day, the news is coming fast, hot and heavy, and election is creeping up on us, and things are getting consequential. It's depressing and overwhelming to sort through it all. So
with the election, gearing up to start and like all this crazy, like I feel like there's more and more, and the news cycle is moving so fast. It's like you don't even know from day to day what the next huge topic's going to be. And yeah, it's crazy.
There's this great Gus Johnson skit that just came out really recently. I don't know if you saw it.
Okay.
But he like picks up the newspaper, and then it's just like written on there, 12 stories that if standing alone on any other time period would dominate the news cycle for months. And then his wife comes up and she's like, "What's in the news, babe?" And he's like, "I don't remember."
No, seriously.
And
it's
kind of what it feels like. It's like, okay, all of these things are so big and so large, but it's sort of last week's news already. And
yeah, it's crazy.
Just cruising along.
So, I always said that last week, like the president was impeached this year. Like no one even talks about that anymore.
I know. Yeah, you would think that'd be like, oh, hey, we impeached this guy. Like, let's talk about that. And
that's not even mentioned as part of this whole.
Didn't come up in the debate at all, did it?
Nope, not at all.
That's pretty.
Mentioned.
Yeah, you would have thought that would.
You would have thought.
Yeah, they tried.
Yeah, I guess. Sure.
Yeah, so we just kind of want to sit down today, a little more relaxed, a little more informal, sort through some news. There was a couple big headlines, nothing huge.
Yeah.
But a lot of recent things. So we're filming this on October 15th, which is Thursday.
Right, because there's probably going to be
Sunday
new stuff this weekend, so we'll miss.
Yeah. Jared and Sam of the future can deal with Friday and Saturday's news.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So we'll jump into it. Just going to sit through some news today. I'm going to do a lot of screen sharing today just because sort of just sifting through some news, chatting about it together. And a couple things are, like usual, really hard to figure out what's actually going on. And there's a huge spin jump from both sides.
I feel like between all these different scandals, and we'll talk about the Hunter Biden stuff, but like it's hard to even know where to look to find info or like to know which side is talking about what. It's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Just to even find information these days.
Right. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Sweet.
Let's see. All right. So this is the first one. We're going to start with this. This is the New York Post had released this article titled "Smoking Gun Email Reveals How Hunter Biden Introduced Ukrainian Businessmen to VP Dad." And before I really go into the content of this post, just a little bit of background. So basically this article released October 14th, which was yesterday morning. And basically before I even realized what had happened, this obviously is a huge announcement, huge accusation, I should really say.
Especially since he's, Hunter's already been in the news. Like Trump constantly brings that up. A lot of like conservative, like you're bringing these things up, and
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Trump got impeached over, like wanting
exactly.
Ukrainians to look into this, and the Democrats are saying that's using their political power, but to Trump it's just anti-corruption stuff. Whatever, obviously a huge political weight involved. We're very close to the election. Things like this are incredibly important. And so the first thing that sort of happened was this got released, and right away Twitter started basically not allowing you to share this article. If you try to share it, it would say like, this could not be completed. This article, your linking has been linked to like abusive or violates our terms of service, something
Yeah,
like
it's the
that.
classic little like block they do.
Yeah. And on top of that, you could not even direct message it to someone. So normally, I think if you get linked to fake news, that post might be removed all the way, or it might just get flagged as fake
Right.
news and then have a fact check. But
Which
this was like the day of, and it was getting shared like crazy, and then Twitter just removed it.
it's crazy to me too. This is not coming from like Breitbart or like one of these far right wing like news sources. Like this is from the New York Post.
Yeah,
Like I get like they're more than some others, but like it's not like it's coming from this crazy
right. That's true. This isn't
other.
somebody's blog,
Right,
right?
exactly. Yeah, this is a yeah.
This is a newspaper who I'm sure has a large reading. But yeah, it is recognized that the New York Post is a little bit tabloid-esque, I think, in ways.
Yeah.
They're a little bit sensational. I would never categorize them as like your go-to for facts first journalism. I don't know.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that's
That's
fair.
fair. I think that's fair.
I don't know that much about New York Post, but um, basically, the overall arching claim of this is a email that was linked uh, where this guy, I don't know how to say this
So
name,
yeah.
he's
The sharks.
Ukrainian. According to this article, he's the advisor to the board of Burisma, which is, where Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma. This is like, again, very old news, where he was
Right.
on this energy company's board, receiving $50,000 a month. Um, and in this email, allegedly, this guy writes to Hunter, "Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to DC and giving me an opportunity to meet your father and spend some time together. It is really an honor and pleasure. And as I spoke yesterday evening, it would be great to come meet today for a quick coffee. What do you think? I could come to you office somewhere around noon or so before on my way to airport. Best V." So, so this obviously is contrary to what Biden has said in the past. He said,
Right.
"I've been involved with Hunter's dealings. I didn't know what his dealings with
Like
Burisma was, all
Biden
separate
basically
from
yeah.
him."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Biden took the position of this is all completely not have anything to do with me.
Nothing to do with me. Hunter is his own person. I don't
Right.
have anything to do with it. Which has always been sketchy at best, but obviously, there was no
We don't really know either.
direct.
Right.
There's
There's
no
no.
direct way
Yep.
of showing it.
Yep.
But obviously, this would be huge. Anyway, Twitter basically shut it down. And let's see. There. Oh, now we're like moving to the stuff from today. There's the town halls are going on
Yeah,
right
the town
now.
halls are happening. But there was
Earlier, this was on the front page talking about Hunter Biden's for Fox News, and there was like 5 stories that were all about Hunter Biden's leak and the following reaction from Twitter and Facebook.
right.
I want to see if I can find Twitter's actual post. Oh yeah, this is it. So after this all got removed, Twitter came out and said, "We want to provide some much needed clarity around the actions we've taken with respect to 2 New York Post articles that were first tweeted this morning." So the other one, which I don't think I need to pull up, was just kind of a history of Hunter Biden
Yeah, it was a little
as
more
a
in depth and a little more
person.
cohesive.
Yeah, it had a lot to do with his past in like Ukraine, and then some of his he had issues with crack, whatever. I think
Right.
it's a little bit less linked to Joe Biden, but basically Twitter banned both of these, and they said that the images contained in the articles includes personal and private information like email addresses and phone numbers, which violate our rules. As noted this morning, we also currently view materials included in the articles as violation of our hacked materials policy. So they're claiming, these emails, whoops, where'd it go? This email is part of Hack, and there's some more information in here as well. We can sort of get into it. I don't think we need to get all into the weeds of all of it, but there's a lot of information, and there are some emails listed in here. But they're older emails,
Right.
so they've been around.
It's interesting to me that these tweets were sent out at 7:45 p.m. when this was all happening in the early morning. Like
5 in the morning. Yeah.
That's a long time for a tech company to wait to release any sort of statement.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely ban first, provide clarity later.
Right.
Sort of thing. And then even Jack said, who's CEO of Twitter, the main guy, our communication around our actions on the New York Post article was not great, and blocking URL sharing via tweet or DM with zero context as to why we're blocking unacceptable. So this was a huge step, really polarized. I mean, right away, the right wing was jumping to claim this is like voter, what's the word? Election meddling. You're banning important information to help Joe Biden. And this is like smoking gun evidence, and you're not even allowing people to see it and make a decision for themselves. But again, Twitter's saying, well, it's got personal information, so we're pulling it for that reason. But I think it's interesting, like, when we had that information come out about Trump's tax returns and
that was fine. And
all of that, like that was trending, like that was promoted, stuff like that. Yeah. So that's the sort of right-wing argument is, where's the consistency?
Which, yeah, and I'd love to talk about at some point. This could maybe be a future topic, but what I find such interesting, like, push-pull for me as, like, Twitter as a private corporation versus, and, like, Facebook as, like, and YouTube, all these places that are both privately owned and public places, you know, because it's like they're clearly a public platform where you can basically say whatever you want, but also they're run by these organizations. It's not the street square,
Right.
It's not a public, it's not truly a public place. So I think that's worth
exactly.
Like, where's the line? Is there legal actions involved? Can they set everything, or do they have some stipulations legally that they have to allow certain things? I don't really know.
Right. And we kind of touched on it last week, where we were saying, like, well, with like PragerU and YouTube and the Supreme Court case going, like, well, PragerU says their First Amendment rights being oppressed, but then YouTube's saying, like, no, you're trying to oppress ours by forcing us to allow this or allow that. But yeah, I mean, isn't that big argument what's it called? It's like Section 302 or something that says you can basically either be a publisher or a free speech platform, right?
Right.
It's basically, the argument runs, okay, if you're a publisher, you're like a newspaper, and you pick and choose what you want on your website and what you don't.
Exactly what you want, yeah.
Right. And then if you do post something that ends up being slander or harmful, or like something you can be held legally liable from.
You can be held to it.
Yeah, you can be held to it. But something like Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, if someone posts something terrible or illegal on their website, they're not held liable because they're a free space. And so they can't be held accountable or sued or anything like that, because they're just the platform. But
that means they can control what is on their platform.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the argument coming from the right wing, which is basically, okay, well, if you want this defense as a free speech platform where you can't be held accountable for what's posted, then you can't be editing and picking what's banned and what's not, because once you start doing that, now we have to treat you like a website where
you can be held accountable for what
a publisher. So there's some serious reform that needs to happen there, and I totally see the merits of both sides.
Yep.
Like for Twitter to ban some things but not others, and then claim they can't be held accountable for what wasn't banned if it does, prove to be harmful or dangerous or illegal down the road.
Which this stuff's all still so new, so we're still figuring it out. Like,
of course, yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it's
right. The internet is like obviously very young, like you said, in the grand scheme of things. So.
Right.
yeah, I think it's very complicated. But yeah, I mean, and I know this was a big argument in the 2016 election, is people were saying, okay, well, Russia was interfering through
Right.
Facebook and all these other things. And yeah, I mean, it's very hard to know, like for someone like me and you, like, okay, I see 24,000 likes. What does that mean? Like, I can't ever know, did 24,000, where are those bots? Are those real? Did
Right.
Twitter just
There's certain
pick
things
that
we don't
number?
know.
Like,
Yeah.
you just have to trust it.
Just the algorithms and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really wild. Anyway, just wanted to talk a little bit about that fallout today. There's more details into the actual Hunter Biden stuff. It's really, we were talking about it right before. It's really interesting. Fox News, earlier they had 5 articles right up in here about Hunter Biden. But if you go to CNN, and it's been like this all day, there's nothing on Hunter Biden or the New York Post or Twitter or Facebook. So I can type
Crazy.
in HUN, nothing. I'm going to go to politics, type in Hunter, nope.
Shuns opportunity. It's the only thing you get.
Nope, it's all Trump 24/7 over here.
It is
Trump,
crazy.
Trump, Barrett. Oh, wait, no, Trump's still in that headline. Trump. Every article.
Every article has Trump's name in it. Yeah.
Every single one. Oh, wait, this one doesn't.
Oh, that one doesn't. Just coronavirus. And
Just
Rose Garden event.
and it has a picture of Trump in it.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, CNN is taking a nice policy of pretend it didn't happen, which honestly, I feel like if you really believe something is fake and not real, you probably should not address it.
Yeah, I guess.
But
well, I always feel like though that like
CBS has been talking about it too, so CNN's definitely in the minority.
It just like even if you don't talk about the like
article
emails
itself.
themselves and the article itself, you can talk about the Twitter stuff, and like that was clearly newsworthy.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans senators are trying to take the CEO of Twitter to subpoena him, and that could get dirty. And yeah, I feel like it's something that, if it comes down to the election is contested and all of that, I wonder if people could say, well, Twitter was sharing fake news and that's election interference, or I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Either way, all of it is going to feed into the sort of disarray of issues on that. Yeah. But yeah, so I would definitely recommend looking into everything. I think at the end of the day, to figure out if these leaks are true, they're going to have to get like the FBI involved and figure out what email is real, what's not.
It seems a little like some of the stuff's a little sketch, like it's released right at the right time. It's like, we don't really have a secondary source besides this original computer guy who shared these emails from this laptop. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this laptop somehow ended up in the hands of Rudy Giuliani.
which is president's
you're from the left. You're like, You're like, what? This
and it's released just now as opposed to months ago. It's like, okay.
So obviously there's some timing going on here, but the questions of the validity, who knows? I mean, for a lot of Democrats, what's flashing before their eyes is the Comey reopening the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. It's like 15 days before the election or something.
Right.
And a lot of people blame him. I know Hillary does, along with many other people, for her losing to Trump as like a last minute surge for Trump. Who knows, what ultimately the case was, but a lot of people will just say, oh yeah, Comey opened it, she lost, and then it never led to anything, and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be interesting to follow. I mean, if it's true and Twitter covered it up onto the guise of hacked materials or leaked information like that, that's definitely, I think, a loss in their case. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
It's Twitter and Facebook. This stuff's not going away for them. I know a lot of left-wing people believe that Facebook leans conservative, which the conservatives would obviously they'll say it
I'd say it
leans
doesn't. Yeah,
liberal.
for sure.
There was yeah,
No, but I've heard that. I've heard that
so
argument as well. So.
yeah, so both sides are gonna be at the
Yep. And
heels of
again, it's that idea of like depending on what angle you look at it, like depending on what your biases are, like you're gonna approach
yeah,
the same issues two different ways. So
yeah, and I think both sides would be tempted to say, oh well, we need the government to step in and regulate it so our guys can figure out that. But that's also horrifying as well to think about government doing the fact checking in
oh
place of the
yeah, that's
press, in
right.
place,
That's what the whole press. That's what the press is for. Yeah.
right? So I don't know. Like you said, it's a new problem. It's complicated. I'd love to talk about it more one day, but
Yeah.
crazy.
Okay. Well, I think the other big thing from this week has been we've got some other topics too, but mostly the Amy Coney Barrett nomination hearings, I think have wrapped up a lot of the news cycle, or at least a lot of people's focus. There's not really a ton to say. In all honesty, it's been pretty typical. It's a way for senators to get their stump speeches out about whatever issue they're wanting to talk about via questioning her. And questioning her is like super vague. Like they're not even real questions. Like
Right.
I watched Ted Cruz bring up a whole bunch of things. And he went on this like long talk about like 5 different issues. And at the end he was like, I don't expect you to answer any of that. I don't really have a question for you. But how's your family? It was like, wait, what? What is the point of this?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. Yeah.
and
It's
so,
really interesting.
yeah, I think that just kind of goes to show like the hearings matter in the sense that they're part of the decorum. They're part of the like things. So you get to ask your questions. But I think Barrett is just going to say, look at Senator and be like, I can't answer that. I've been told like legally
Yeah.
I am asked not to say how I will rule on a current issue or an issue that could come up in the future. So I can't answer
Right. Yeah. So that's the issue, right? There's like legal ramifications, but there's also like down the road, basically the argument has run for a while. This is something that Ginsburg did way back. I think it's like 93 or whenever she was in her hearings, which basically runs all these senators are going to try to ask you, how would you rule on this case? Or like,
Right.
what about this guy who needs the Affordable Care Act? Would you strike down the Affordable Care Act? And the idea is basically, I can't tell you even my personal opinion, not as a judge, because down the road, if I have to rule on a case where this issue comes up, people can say, oh, well, this was not a legitimate ruling because we know she leans this way already.
We know her
And
personal beliefs. We know. Yeah,
right.
exactly. So, I mean, it's
So the
good that
judge
she's not
has to,
answering it. And I know there's certain people
right.
that are like, you could answer these basic facts. And it's like, okay, sure. But like, she's going to err on the side of not answering anything. She doesn't anger anybody that way. She's not going to like,
Yep.
especially the conservatives that like her. She doesn't want to get any one of those people mad this close to the election.
Yep.
Like, she's just going to say nothing. And that's what she did for 4 days. So,
yeah, it's been, despite sort of being on air for a lot of news channels, it's been pretty low key. There hasn't been a lot of news spread about it. She's pretty much declined, like you said, to answer anything and moved on. Yeah, they're gonna have the committee on the Senate is gonna vote on October 22nd, which they will definitely move it on to the Senate, no doubt.
The Senate Judiciary Committee will vote, and it will pass, and then it'll go to the full Senate, probably Monday the 26th. Maybe as early as that Friday.
Yeah.
But it depends on if there's delays. You never know. So I would expect the 26th.
Yep. That definitely looks like the Senate has the votes for sure. So
right.
We probably will have a Supreme Court justice within the next week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, and right before the election. And
it's crazy how fast it's gone.
yeah, it is. That is
But
crazy.
yeah,
And
here we
then
are.
she starts immediately. There's no waiting till January or whatever.
Yeah, you don't wait till the next election cycle. You don't wait for anything. You just immediately go under the court. So assuming whatever cases are that week, would start hearing.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
because the court term
That,
has started, so um, yeah.
got it. A couple other quick things. Unless you have anything else on that, Jared.
I think that's it. That one.
Um, all right. So QAnon. I don't know much about QAnon. I'll be honest. Where is my stuff?
Basically, it's a conspiracy. Someone who is Q or whatever is writing these articles and writing these posts or whatever and putting out insider info about certain things that go on in the government or in specifically along liberal circles. A lot of it comes from YouTube. It's all of these like conspiracy theories. I don't know much more than that. I know they
Yeah.
believe a lot of think a lot of these, there's some sort of sex ring kind of thing going on in a deep state,
Yeah.
and all these terms thrown around, and I don't.
Right.
Yeah. So
Sort of feels like this big Illuminati.
yeah, it's similar to Illuminati stuff, except for
Very.
liberal, not liberals in Hollywood, but liberals in like actual like politicians.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, a lot of conspiracy theories. A lot of them have to do with people in power, and
Yep.
like you said, sex rings. They believe that there's a big pedophile ring and all of that.
Yep.
I honestly don't know anything about them. Feels like it's better that way, but basically YouTube and Facebook are saying we're taking all their stuff off of our platforms. I think, has Twitter already done it? If they haven't, they probably will.
Yeah.
Soon.
July
Twitter,
Twitter.
it did it back in July. Yeah. 7,000 accounts off.
Wow.
So that's newsworthy. People have been trying to get Trump to denounce them.
Yeah, that was a big thing that happened tonight at the town hall. He was basically asked if you wanted to denounce QAnon, and he was like, I don't really know anything about them. Like, I don't know who are these guys?
Right.
Who knows if he actually does? He's probably just been told to say he doesn't know anything either way.
Not affiliated, not endorsing, whatever. Yeah. So that's interesting. It's all kind of back to the tying it up with, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube fighting against fake news, and
right.
It's definitely, I think we've talked about this before, but I think my feelings are those people that are part of those groups, it only entrenches them further to be removed, to think like, oh, it's true, and they're covering it up. They're fighting the truth, and like they're trying to, silence us.
Right. I can definitely see that. I think there is some benefit for certain things, like a lot of, older people, I think, on Facebook would just share things instantly, like see headlines, share, like those kind of things would be less likely to happen.
Right.
But among people that are like more
might reach.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reach might have gone down. Yeah.
Right. A lessened reach, but it will potentially make the people like it. For one thing, it blows it up. I think I've talked about this before. Is when you ban something, people are like, "Oh, what is this? I've never heard of this until I heard it was being banned." And like,
right, which is why we're talking about it now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, people look into it, and now that it's not on the platform, these things kind of go underground, and I don't know. I mean, to me, it always feels like it's better to fight disinformation with real information, and like try to have that argument, even though you're like, this isn't working, these people won't be reasonable, whatever.
Which, I mean,
it just feels like at the end of the day, there needs to be a discourse. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think QAnon's been around for a couple of years now, so it's not like YouTube and Facebook and them are just like now deciding to do that. It's been a little while, so I don't know if that plays into
Right.
things or not, but
That's true. Yeah.
worth noting.
Yep, worth noting.
Um,
Hopefully, like we said, we'll figure all this out one day.
right. Other news story of the week. So right now there's been talks for, several weeks about a new coronavirus stimulus package, some sort of bill passing through the Senate, and it's basically just died and died and died. Trump has been very vocal in the last couple of days of being like, I'll pass anything, like, $2 trillion, whatever, like, let's do it. And the interesting of the Senate Republicans, specifically Mitch McConnell, has basically said that's a no-go, that's a non-starter, like more than $500 billion, that's where we stop. We're going to continue our PPP program, the Payment Protection Plan. We're going to add to like businesses, but these giant stimulus packages we're not going to do. And then Pelosi's a wild card, and the Democrats are like, we'll work with Trump, but even though we want that more, but we're not going to work with you, and we're not going to work with Senate Republicans either because they don't want enough. And so it's kind of this three-way like split going on.
Also, did Trump waffle a little bit? Because at first, wasn't he the one that said, I'm not working with Pelosi, and then he sort of changed his mind?
Yeah, basically he was like, I'm not working with Pelosi. I don't want anything to do with her. And then she was like, well, someone was like, we're trying to do get this passed. Well, I'll fund whatever. Like, doesn't matter how much money, which is like what they were asking for. So it's confusing. I think Trump is just saying whatever is politically salient at the time. And so he's like, oh, obviously that backfired because it makes it look like that I don't want to help anybody. So now I'm going to say we can spend whatever. And then the Republicans are like, wait, that's not our platform. We don't want to spend this much money. So
yeah, it's sort of the same thing that we see a lot of times with Senate bills where both sides have what they want to do, but I think more than anything, they want to blame the other side for not letting them do the thing more than they actually want to do the thing itself.
Yeah, 100%.
So at the end of the day, they're happiest when they're like saying, "Oh, these guys are stopping us from doing it."
Right. Plus, politically,
they don't actually mind
in November, right? Like, oh, I can't pass this, but if you keep me in office, we'll definitely get it done.
Right. We see it this every other year with government shutdown stuff. It's like,
right, exactly.
Oh, we can't come to a deal. I guess we're gonna shut down for a few days, and then it's like this stupid game of chicken where they're just racing at each other, and they get really vocal. I'm sure they do a lot of fundraising during that time and all of that. So,
yeah, basically, like McConnell publicly warned Democrats, saying that even if the Democrats in the White House got a deal, he wouldn't put it on the floor.
Which is strange because he and Trump are usually buddy-buddy.
I know, so it's an interesting break there. I wonder if it's because I think Republicans are realizing they're going to be around longer than he is if he doesn't get reelected.
True, yeah.
And so they don't want to hurt their very conservative districts.
Right.
And do anything fiscally not conservative. I don't know. But
right. Yeah, I mean, we have to remember that it's not just a presidential election on the line. There are a lot of close Senate races right now.
Right.
There's a real chance, probably more likely chance that the Democrats end up with the majority this time around. So.
Yep. Yeah. Very high.
In the Senate,
they'll win all.
Yeah.
They'll have all three branches,
except for the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. For real. Not the Supreme Court.
Not even close. Until we pack the court. I just saw a headline said that Biden said he would release his stance on that soon. So
he said something similar. He said, I'm not a fan of court packing, and then rambled on about how he's not going to talk about it. So it was kind of an answer, not really. Again, I think that's what we talked with Pate last week. We were saying it's probably he'd rather just not. He's probably not going to court pack, but he'd rather just not say it. So.
Yep. I know there were some senators in Amy's hearings this week talking about Joe Biden's speech from like back when he was a senator,
Mm-hmm.
saying that he was against court packing. But yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yep.
Who knows? Joe Biden of the 90s is very different from Joe Biden of the 2010s.
True. 2020s.
Yep. All right. I think we have one last piece of news.
What else you got? Yep.
So this one's Steve Scully works for C-SPAN. He's been a C-SPAN anchor for a little while now. And before this week or last week, we're no longer having a second presidential debate. It was supposed to be after Trump got COVID. They wanted to move it online, and then he said, I don't want to do it online, and I want to do it in person. But then, Biden and the committee didn't want to do it in person or whatever. So they're not having a second debate. But it was supposed to be hosted by C-SPAN's Steve Scully. And Steve Scully basically has had a strange, I don't have these articles up. Let me pull them up really quick. Thought I had them. Oh, yeah, they're on this other tab. Too many tabs, Jared. So basically, Steve Scully has had an interesting Twitter history, to say the least.
Yeah, we were looking at this beforehand, and it looks like he, several different times throughout his career on Twitter has, said that something was a hack or joked that something was a hack when he said something that didn't connect well with followers.
Right. So it's happened. Let me see. I think I have the 2012 stuff up. No, not here. Which one is it? Too many articles.
I think it was the Fox News one.
This one right here.
That's BBC. Oh, maybe that was it.
Yeah, here it is. So basically back in 2012, he made some tweets about weight loss. I don't even know what the old tweet was, but he says, I apologize for the tweets. Darn those hackers. Have a great Sunday. And then in 2013, he apologized for another one, some more tweets. And then he says, I apologize for some earlier tweets. Account was hacked. Those tweets did not come from me. Thanks for alerting me, Steve Scully.
How often do famous people actually get hacked and then someone tweets about that? I feel like not very often, right?
Do you remember that big Twitter hack a couple of months ago where they got Joe Biden?
But it's usually really
Kanye
obvious,
West,
right?
Yeah, it's like a Bitcoin scam.
Yeah.
So these are very sketchy, to say it twice. And then in 2016, he had retweeted a New York Times op-ed headline titled, No, not Trump, not ever. And so Trump has been saying, leading up to the debate, I don't like that Steve Scully is the moderator.
Right.
He's anti-never Trumper, and we shouldn't let him do it. So then Steve Scully tweeted out in response to Trump's tweet criticizing him, adding someone else who is also critical of Trump. I don't want to get there's too many names. But basically, Steve Scully said, should I respond to Trump? Kind of I don't know. I don't think it's that huge of a deal being do I humor this guy? But basically poking fun at Trump. And then people got mad that he did that. And then he said, Steve Scully said, I was hacked again.
Yep.
So he said, should I respond to Trump? And then
he was like, nope, I didn't. I was hacked. Don't worry about it.
And C-SPAN says Steve Scully did not originate the tweet and believes his account has been hacked. So this is the third time this guy is claimed to be hacked. And then recently today, I think it was today.
Yeah,
yesterday, it looks like. Maybe late last night.
Well,
he says, oh, yeah. Well, C-SPAN suspended its political editor after he admitted to lying about his Twitter feed being hacked when he was confronted about a questionable exchange with former Trump aides. That's who he added when he said, should I respond to Trump?
Right.
So he admits to lying. He gets suspended. And obviously, if they were still having a debate at this time, I'm sure they would have to move on to someone else moderating it. But
Yeah, it's just ironic that he didn't end up actually having to do the debate, because that would have been, I think, even bigger news than it was.
yeah,
This was.
but I think it's interesting because if this had not all happened, Trump had been claiming this guy is a never Trumper, whatever,
Right.
and he's tweeted this stuff and then said he didn't tweet it, and it turns out that he was in fact lying. So Trump's taking this as a huge victory, and
Of course.
it is a bit spooky. I mean, this guy did tweet, that never Trump headline, and now, these debate moderators always say, like, I'm the only one with access to the questions. They have not been given to either
Right.
candidate ahead of time, and that's always, like, I guess, just a big trust thing. And I remember
Yeah.
in the 2016, Hillary Clinton had gotten the questions ahead of time instead of Bernie, and in a
Yeah.
Democratic debate. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Yeah. So.
So it's a big deal, and it's crazy to see that a moderator who's supposed to be professional can just blatantly lie about saying he was hacked, and
And then being like,
2020
just kidding. I didn't do
just
it.
keeps going. Just kidding, I was hacked.
Yep.
Nothing to see here.
Crazy.
Oh man. Anyway, that's the news.
That's the news for this week. So
Uh,
this is what, like, a scandal, and all these different, not a new Supreme Court justice 3 weeks from the election, like, just always something.
yeah,
So,
always something.
well, to get our minds off of politics and to talk about something else, I do have a recommendation for us.
Please. Let's do
So
it.
it is the spooky time of year. It is, since it is October 14th or 15th or whatever it is, 15th. And Netflix just released a new show called The Haunting of Bly Manor, which I am currently watching and really enjoying. It's basically, so they released a show called Haunting of Hill House a couple years back, and it's a pretty standard fare horror kind of esque show. Go to a haunted house, there's ghosts all around every corner or whatever, and it's really well done. But this season is much more dramatic and is more about focused less on, like, the actual ghosts themselves, and more of, like, how you're haunted in your past lives, and how in your life, and how things that you don't like close will come back to infect you, and, like, being
Whoa.
trapped in a certain place in your life, because basically almost all of the show is set on the manor properties, a few flashbacks that go somewhere else. But it's about being trapped in this place of life. Anyway, it's just really interesting. I really like the thematic elements, and it's not, like, I wouldn't say it's scary. It has its moments of, like, creeping fear, but it's not like jump scare kind of show.
It's more of a, like, thriller type feel.
Yeah, and more of a slow burn drama kind of like unsettling, but not, like, scary necessarily. So that's my recommendation. I'm about 2/3 of the way through. So
thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it for us. Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Spotify, all of that. Thank you guys for joining us. It's good to sit down and sort through some news. We're almost there. It's November 3rd. Get this thing over with.
Yep.
Move on to some less divisive issues.
Well, I don't think it's going to be over after November 3rd, but maybe, like, December 3rd we'll be ready for, breather and Christmas. That sounds really nice.
Yeah, I agree. Well, good to see you guys.
All right.
Have a good week.